little more time. Heather, you have a choice. You can accept the roughly $70,000 to extend the lease and work together and thereby regaining our trust. And I hope that's the decision that you'll make tonight. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Walker, and I've spoken before. I was so excited to see that there was new items added to the agenda about the Rockland Library. Because we are here to work with you guys, and we agree on the importance of libraries, the need to maintain a budget, the need to expand facilities in the east as our population grows in that direction, and the need to increase wages to attract and retain our employees. And I believe we can achieve these goals without closing any locations, either now or in the future. And as we move forward towards meeting these goals, I would just like to really reiterate the importance and the necessity of smaller community-based locations like Rockland. I believe they feel a need that a larger central library cannot feel on their own, and I would argue that smaller locations are even better at providing the most foundational and vital things that our libraries do for our community. Again, to reiterate, when you look at the Pikes Library's fundamental core values and guiding vision, the words that come up all the time, the first word in vision is access, first word in values is access, first word in strategic plan is access. The other word that's computed over and over again is community, community connections, cultivating spaces for communities and bringing people together. I'd like you to really think about the outpouring of support and the passion surrounding Rockland Library. And why do you think that is? I think it's because we excel at very values and visions. Small libraries are a community hub, a place you meet friends and neighbors, a place you can walk or bike to, the epitome of both community and access. And as you've heard over the past few weeks, Rockland is so much more than a library. It's a neighborhood center with strong connections to young mothers, school-age children, working adults, and the elderly. I would argue we need more small, easy, accessible community centers in locations that can provide community and access in a way that the larger centralized locations simply cannot. We need more intimate spaces where kids, the elderly, and people with special needs can feel safe and not overwhelmed. More places where you see the same friendly faces you see walking in your neighborhood or at your local grocery store. We need more places that build that community connection that has become so lacking in our modern lives. We need more Rocklanders, not fewer. I believe it would be more financially responsible and more valuable to do the community to open smaller community-based locations on the east and north side. This could be accomplished both faster and cheaper than waiting to build a huge multi-million-dollar central library, which would still leave a huge population who would have to drive out of their own small communities to reach a centralized location, and which would still leave many young, elderly, and special needs people without an easily accessible resource. Larger centralized locations are both expensive to build and maintain, and they are often located in industrial areas, not residential areas. I feel that while larger libraries offer cool resources that are exciting and nice, I feel that those things are extras, not the core of what we need for our libraries. In times of budget constraints, I would argue we need to really focus on the fundamental needs of our community and not the extra. We need to pursue more funding to maintain our current system and to try to do any kind of expansion, and I believe we can get there. We can reevaluate our expenditures based on the core values of access and community, while also exploring other means of funding, including pursuing a mill levy and/or tab exemption or other creative measures. As you move forward to making these tough decisions on how to best serve our community, please open your heart to the vital, understated role that smaller community libraries play in all of our lives. Thank you.
All right, we're doing three that are joining us virtually. The first is Councilman Dave Donaldson. You should be able to unmute, councilperson.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to say good evening to President Gonzalez and to the Board of Trustees. And right now I'm in North Carolina with my 85-year-old mother who's been hospitalized And I took her to the ER, and I've spent 3 days at the hospital. I do want to show you, though, like when I drive back and forth, what is on the her keys to the car, her library card. And that's the way they do it out here. And that's how important libraries are to her and to a lot of citizens her age. And she can't drive very far, so luckily it's right here in the neighborhood for her, much like Rockrimmon. And so, again, I want to thank you right at the start for re-voting on this. I think that takes courage and it takes an open mind. And I've changed my vote in the past. I changed my vote on Amara annexation, and it made all the difference. And Richard Scorman changed his on 2424, and that made all the difference. So I ask you to consider that tonight. On August 8th, when I met with the PPLD CEO and two Board of Trustees members, I was told that this decision would not be made in 2024, that this would be a decision made in 2025 at the earliest. And so I would ask you to honor your word to me on that and to re-vote to extend the lease for 1 year. On October 16th, I spoke and asked you to do that. And again, tonight, I want to ask you to renew that lease for 1 year at a lower cost and with guarantees for any water damage in the facility, and to add in that $70,000 that's been raised by the citizens that love the library, the Rockrimmon Library. And you have other information now that you didn't have when you voted to not renew the lease. Some of it is the money, the $70,000 that shows you the level of support. $1,000 of it is mine. I've pledged that's two months of city council pay. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I ask you to please reconsider that initial vote. The public process, what we ask for is a better public process and a year to work on a solution that maintains that neighborhood library. I guarantee you that the survey results would have been different if library closures were on the table. The participation rate would have been much higher and the results would be different. When people move out east, I want to address that. When people out east need libraries too, that's true. But when they've moved to Rockrimmon area, there was a library there, and that was part of what they thought they were getting when they moved there. People out east get a lower price for the property in their homes, and part of that is because they don't have things already there like libraries. So I would also ask you to factor that in. Please reconsider your vote. Thank you.
All right, next up is online, Chris Anderson. Chris, you should be able to unmute now.
Hi there. Yes. Can you hear me? Hi, I'm just speaking in support of renewing the lease for the Rockrimmon Library. There are very limited community options that meet the needs of everyone in our Northwest neighborhood, and it really applies to all ages, school age to senior citizens and everybody in between. I've lived in Colorado Springs since our family moved here in 1972. I've come and gone, but I'm glad to be back in the Raven Hills community, and we use the library frequently. And my parents do, and I know most of my neighbors do that couldn't attend there tonight. As seniors, they don't want to be driving at night to attend a meeting, but they've written emails, as were spoken of before. I've also offered my services as a volunteer, and I've also donated funds to support the renewal for the next year at least. And I just want to thank the board for reconsidering this situation because it's very important to the community of Rockrimmon. Thank you.
Next up, also virtually, James Lehman. James, you should be able to unmute. Try again, James. sorry, it doesn't seem like you'd be able to unmute. I've been trying to give you the permission. I'm gonna do one more online, since there's a fourth, and that's it, then we'll circle back to the in-room. Kathleen O'Keefe. Kathleen O'Keefe, who I see has just left. Isn't that- I apologize for not checking before I called the name.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're going back to in the room then. We'll try back, I'll try you one more time, James, after this next three. We've got Kat Gale, Ann Johnson, Kevin Binkley. Kat Gale, Ann Johnson, Kevin Binkley.
Good evening. I'm Kat Gale. I'm the Chief Legal Counsel of Integrity Matters and Westside Watch, and I'm an avid library user. I'm so glad to see so many people are still showing up for meeting after meeting at perhaps the busiest time of the year between Thanksgiving and the Christmas winter holidays. It takes real courage to change your mind based on new information. It also takes intelligence to realize what you don't know. The consultants repeatedly stated at the June meeting that no decision could be made until there was an in-depth financial modeling. Thanks to the volunteers and financial experts in the Save Rock Women group, we've done it at no cost. And I'm Scottish. Well done on the budget on PPLD. Congratulations. The consultants visited all the branches 2 times. There were no focus groups. I looked through all my multiple emails from PPLD. I never saw a single survey. So we need to work out how to truly engage the community, to truly know what the needs are. And when you see this outpouring of support, I think we would have no problem passing a mill levy, perhaps a bond issue, so that a library east of Powers, which is definitely needed, could be funded by that community. We just passed a bond for Air Academy High School and additional schools in ASD 20. This last election was a prime time. It was a presidential election. So many more people than usual got out to vote. So let's put it on the ballot in November. This is also a tremendous lesson in civics for all of us. I'm proud and I'm inspired by all of the children who have sat still for hours in packed meetings. They do much better than I do. And then those who spoke, children spoke to this board, to city council, to county commissioners, and the media. Our future is in good hands. Let's leave the library open so they can continue to promote literacy, to have access to books and meetings and trainings, Girl Scout meetings, and just a community space to come together. It's been said that leases are more expensive than ownership, and I think that that's a logical fallacy. I know we were with the US government for 30 years living overseas. The US government owns the embassy. You don't want a host country national to own your embassy. But our housing was landlords. That way, the landlord could deal with your plumbing or scorpions or whatever the issue was that needed to be taken care of. So the government could be in charge of democracy, transparency, education, foreign aid. Thank you very much for reconsidering. It takes real courage to do what you've done tonight. Make the right decision.
Like I'm sitting in the front row and I wasn't impressed until I got here.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Short person. But I'm senior, not elderly. Anyway. Objective, libraries for equitable access to physical and virtual spaces in a safe and inclusive environment. And I think this is really important for us with the library. It should include support for book clubs. So I'm really talking specifically about book clubs, so I'm a little tangential, but The Rock Ribbon Book Club has been in existence for more than 30 years. That's amazing, right? The book club provides that environment for local residents of all ages. We do have young people in it too. It's not just senior citizens. But it's especially appreciated by the seniors because they live near the library. The location, the time, and the library resource support are especially needed by seniors. Well, most of the seniors do drive, and that was one of the things that we are in a car environment. We don't drive far, and we don't like to drive at night. In fact, I'm thinking about that now. Driving the after this. Well, this is tangential to keeping the library open. It should be noted that we've been told that there would be no support for any book club at any of the libraries, and that the one of the Rock Ribbon was no longer going to be in existence. It disappeared the date that it was going to be closed. And there wasn't really an announcement to the book club group saying, you know, these are the things you're going to have to do, and it won't be accepted anywhere else. Stopping to support the book clubs takes away a valuable place, especially for seniors, to meet in that safe and inclusive environment. Now we must find a location to meet and also find a way to get access to books to the clubs. I'd like to know what's going to happen to all the book sets that are going to build GPUs by book clubs. I hope that this decision not to support that club will be reviewed in light of the stated objective of the PPLD system. And I would like to suggest, as we've been suggesting, that more community input is given. So can we have community input? Are book clubs part of the things that libraries should do? And should they be supported? Thank you.
First, thank you. I don't have a prepared speech or dissertation, but I am a municipal employee. So I am public servant as well as you are public servant as well. And so what it comes down to is essentially, look at this room. It is standing room only. You have fire code that's been 3 times. Frankly, fire department's been here, said we have to move people out. That's how big this outreach is. And this little girl right here, she uses this library every week, 3 times a week. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is this, as public servants, I'm a public servant, and frankly, this is volunteer, but you are also public servants dealing with public money, that we are all reaching out and saying, we want our library. You will find another way to figure out how to make your budget work. Now, as a public servant, I actually understand the predicament you're in. And I understand there's hard decisions. But I understand that when the public comes out and says, we want this, as public servants, because there's 7 of you, are making decisions for over 200 square miles. And we only have a small portion up in Rock Ribbon with a substantial amount of taxpayer money that needs our library. And at the end of the day, my 3 girls need our library. And so at the end of the day, what it comes down to is you have to take into account, you are public servants. And you have to listen to the public because you're dealing with public money. And so at the end of the day, also what it comes down to is that with that public money, I've had to make hard decisions to say, okay, we're going to move projects out because of what ratepayers, taxpayers, what they say holds value. And if we don't hold value with the money that we provide you, we are not going to trust you and we're going to remove you. And that's where it comes down. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna try one more time. James Lehman, who is online. James Lehman, I've given you permission to unmute. Could you try that? I see you on the line, but we can't hear you. So it seems like we're having issues with James' audio, perhaps on his end, as we heard the other. We're gonna move on because we're on limited time to 3 that are in person. Veronica Baker, Josie Parker, and Bruce Hamilton. Are you Veronica? You are first. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Veronica Baker. I have a passion for helping people with disabilities. As a mother to 2 young adult sons with disabilities, this isn't just a passion, it is my life. In the short time I've been sharing my story, I've been touched by others who are living with disabilities or working within the communities affected. I've learned about day programs that relied on the smaller, sensory-friendly atmosphere of Rock Rimmon Library to provide a better experience for their clients. I've listened to a mom joyously share about the relationships formed between her daughter with special needs and the children's librarians at Rock Rimmon. I've even heard from a senior who used her power wheelchair to take the path from her assisted living facility to the library. I feel like the rush to make this decision to close our library, I feel like in this rush to make this decision, the board has overlooked important players and significant factors. I've learned that other government agencies and stakeholders had a part to play in making sure this decision could move forward smoothly and more thoughtfully. I know that one neglected factor that stands out is the lack of public transportation available for those who can't drive due to disability or age. It's imperative that we take the time to consider their plight. These individuals are vulnerable and many can't be here tonight to have their voices heard and their concerns known. For these individuals, the library is a gateway to a world that is richer and more inclusive. We have a duty to remember that. Now, with this opportunity to take more time, I feel that we can engage those important players and carefully weigh those significant factors. This decision is too important to be put into a time crunch. It involves so many people that not listening to their pleas or their concerns is commensurate to ignoring them, causing them to feel insignificant. I implore you to take this opportunity of a 1-year lease to do right by this vulnerable community. In closing, I'd like you to consider the following question posed by Michael Spellacy, who's an accessibility professional. How will my decisions today impact others, especially people with disabilities? It's such a simple thing to do, you know? Let's make a habit of it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Josephine Parker and I attend Eagleview Middle School, which if you didn't know is very close to the Rock Rimmon Library. Eagleview has over 900 students. Eagleview is not the only school close to this library. The House Elementary School has 400 students. That's 1,300 students that need school resources. I was here at a library board meeting before. Maybe I should say the same thing as I did before, because I don't think you listened. But here I am, stating more reasons to keep Rock Rimmon open. First of all, after school, my mom drives me home. She has stage 3 cancer, therefore has many appointments. My dad passed in 2017. Because she's a single mom with many appointments, she won't always be able to pick me up. With the Rock Rimmon Library, I can walk there if my mom can't pick me up. I realize there are other school programs I can attend, but those are not all days of the week. I could also walk to Safeway, but Safeway? At the library, I can study, get homework done, and feel safe. The library also has computers, so I can research things that aren't school related. The library provides programs for little kids that I enjoyed when I was younger. Rockrimmon is a safe place to go if you're in danger. Rockrimmon is a welcome gathering space. Rockrimmon is one of the only places near me that I can get my favorite books from. Today, my class visited a school library. There are multiple book series that I'm interested in, but they do not carry. But Rockrimmon Library does. And I'd just like to add, a woman earlier said that in an area in town was lucky to get a library. Exactly. Everybody should have a library close to them. I really hope you reconsider your thoughts and keep our lovely library open. Thank you.
Both. My name is Bruce Hamilton. Even before she spoke, I was gonna tell you that I can add nothing to the eloquence and wisdom that you've heard already. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question. How many of you here will be disappointed if Rockrimmon Library closes? Can you please, no, can you please stand up? The board needs to see this. The board needs to see this. Look, it's pretty those people. Over 300 of them. I'm done. Thank you very much.
All right, our next three are Pat Webb, Natalie Becker, and Ken Pearl. If I'm pronouncing that correct, I believe it's PFERL. Pat Webb, Natalie Becker, Ken Pearl. 5.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the trustees. I am Pat Webb. I am currently the treasurer of the Friends of the Rockrimmon Library. Rather than repeat what has all these wonderful comments and put together comments that have been made, I will simply say ditto, because everyone has said it way better than I can. The Rockrimmon Library Friends have done very well. We have supported the library. We have accepted all these donations that the citizens have so graciously given to us to sell so that things are recycled. Today we took an email vote, and we have of our treasury that is standing today, even though the library is not closed. We will contribute at least $10,000. And there will be more. If you open the library, we can go into the selling business again, and maybe we can make another 10,000 or so. If you, no matter whether you vote to open or keep it closed, and I will say my daughter and I were at the opening 35 years ago, and we were the last two out. That hurt. If you, no matter how you vote this time, please let us know. Let the community get involved. Talk to the Friends group. We're active. We know what's going on. We're on the pulse of the library. We work with the staff. We work with the needs. No one asked us for anything. And, oh, I like your signs. So I beg you to please include the public, no matter what your decision is. But my personal feeling is you have only one way to go, and that's, oh, let me unlock the door as I walked out, locking it the other night. Please, please give us our library back. It's an asset to our community, always has been, and if you open it, it always will be. Thank you very much.
friend gave me this idea. Hope it's not too long. Okay, sure. Hey, hi, good evening. Nice to see you all again. Maybe I'll see you in different circumstances in the future. Dear esteemed members of the board, I'm coming before you to ask for your vote to renew the one-year lease for Rock Remnant Library. Our neighborhood library is so valuable to us, as you can tell over the last several weeks. We feel that the master facility report didn't take into account the great love for this space, which is so hard to quantify with numbers. We are coming before you as a community that is willing and able to volunteer and pledge our time and money to help find a long-term sustainable solution for keeping the Rock Rimmon Library open. From our perspective, the decision process to close Rock Rimmon was so rushed. You even talked about this yesterday at your board meeting. The decision to close came so swiftly without any real community input, in my opinion. I personally was blindsided. We would love to have a year to do it right with you. We would like to work with Pikes Peak Library District to find long-term solutions for keeping all of our neighborhood libraries open. They're such a valuable part of our community, a real treasure. If you give us a year, we can explore all options and see what we can do to help solve the problems that the Pikes Peak Library District is facing. You can restore the broken trust. We want to feel part of the library district again. Honestly, from the outside looking in, it seems like you have millions of dollars that could be used to keep the library open. From what I understand, at the end of the year, there's a surplus of money, maybe up to $2 million from vacant library positions that will most likely roll into your $14 million unrestricted funds. We want to understand more about how your budget works and why things are so tight for Rock Rimmon. We would like to understand more and work with you to keep our beloved library open. We hope that you will re-vote to give us all a year. It would make many Christmas wishes come true. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ken File. I am the principal at Trailblazer Elementary School, 7 years now. We're at Centennial and Wicks, which is a wonderful and healthy 2-mile walking and free 2-mile walking expedition to Rock Rimmon Library. I want to thank the Pikes Peak Library Board of Trustees for letting us speak. I want to say thanks to this huge community team that just keeps growing. And I wish that we were meeting under different circumstances. I speak from my own personal experience as a principal at Trailblazer Elementary School. I also speak on behalf of at least some of my school community. And I also speak on behalf of some educators in town who feel silenced and that they don't have a voice in this issue. Keep Rock Rimmon Library open. We talked about long-term impacts. We're already seeing impacts. I've got a staff member who on Monday told me about she was ready in the morning to return some library books at Rock Rimmon. She lives near there and realized, oh, I can't do that. I've got to ship. Got a first grader who was at Rock Rimmon Library all day on Saturday with his family to mourn the closing of those doors, and now he has to ship. And he's the kind of kiddo who really needs library access. And if you think about it, you maybe know somebody. I know we all do. I've got over 200 students who can't go on that walking expedition to the library now. We've got students without connectivity or community at home who don't have access. We've got students who are scratching their heads about why all this is happening and about what is being done to them, not with them, and certainly not for them. So with all of these impacts, I want to thank you all for your reconsideration. Thank you. And I want to encourage you to please take this seriously and listen to everyone and model for our kids that yes, we can change course and we can look for better solutions. This is the perfect time tonight to shift and change these kinds of headlines. Show our kids that their voices are heard that we value their growth, that we, as PPLD, will fight as hard as we can to give them the tools and the spaces to be our best future leaders. Keep Rock Rimmon Library open for our kids. Thank you.
Our next three are Brooke Graves, Christine Hall, and Balu Bayani. Brooke Graves, Christine Hall, Balu Bayani.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Graves. I have been with this movement from the very beginning. And I cannot express to you how much I have learned about citizen involvement from this group. I know that you are. I take it for granted that you hold these positions in good faith. I also know that in good faith, you need to listen to options, other opinions. Simply saying we've made our decision does not give us any information. It does not give us any ownership. It doesn't acknowledge our responsibility for giving you the input. So I know you probably feel a little browbeaten, and I apologize if we have been overblown, but we will be heard. We cannot do otherwise because this is our community, our library district. Rock Rimmon Library opened the day that I moved into its service area, 1989. So it's pretty special to me. I have visited the other libraries. I am a lifetime member of the Friends of the Libraries group. I have hauled tons of boxes for book sales. I have watched bookstores for selling to raise funds for the library. I love the Pikes Library District, and I thought it was one of the best managed entities in the entire city, which is why I was so disheartened and frankly infuriated by the refusal of the board to even hear. It's just not how Americans do things. We're offering you all the help we can, all the money, all the stud work. I would by all means support a mill levy raise so the district as a whole can go. You can capitalize on citizen support for that in the future, in the next election. But please, you are the trustees of public property, and we are your public. Hear us. Thank you.
My name is Christine Hall. And in order to not repeat a lot of things that you have already heard tonight, I serve as simply an example of a group that is, that is cherished by the people in the group. I have been the facilitator of the Great Books Morning Group for about 15 years, and we have met at the Rock Rimmon Library. We are all seniors with the exception of one brave 30-some-year-old. We can still discuss Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot and Hemingway and Faulkner very well, but indeed, two of us are on walkers and another one of us should be. One of us is on high levels of oxygen. And one of us is legally blind. To come as soon as actually the October meeting was here and voted on the closure of the library, and we discovered that it was something like a 5-2 vote in favor of closing. I set out in order to take a look at all the other branches to see what would be suitable for this group. Remember that anybody who's on oxygen, it just means that they're also out of energy and can't really walk very far. Certainly our people on walkers can't walk very far. And I found that in spite of the fact I really thought that I would find some other accommodations. The other branches don't have for us what Rock Rimmon has for us. It has free parking. It's a very short distance from where you park until you can get in. It is a clean facility. Bathrooms are there. The ceilings are relatively low to accommodate our hearing problems. There are a number of specific things that seniors bring to any situation, but certainly the Rock Rimmon Library has been ideal for us, and we very much encourage you to consider keeping it open for people like us. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioner. I want to thank you for allowing us to speak. You did a tremendous job and you're reconsidering this decision that you have made already. I know I understand your issues are budget. And that's totally out of my way. But what we're doing here, we're building the community. It's not only Rock Rimmon Library, it's everything west of I-25, south of Academy, and north of Garden of Gods. We are including Mountain Shadow, Peregrine, and other communities that use this facility. My last plea that closest to the library are 2 schools. These children, it's safe haven to them. We want to build a community that is happy. We want to have students that are occupied and not getting in trouble. I see every day Eagleview and Foothills Elementary children come and spend time there until the parents, because most of the parents are working parents, they don't have opportunity to go pick up the students right away at the schools. So if nothing else, please consider your budget issues, but build a community east of I-25, west of I-25, and get into the mode of building the community. Thank you very much for letting me.
Our next 3 are Eric Lundberg, Katie Tsoukas, and Mary A. Kogut. I didn't mention before, I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name.
My name is Eric Lundberg. I'll keep this brief. I just want to thank you for reconsidering the closure of the Rock Rimmon Library. As the community has told you, and will continue to tell you, we're not okay with library closures as a solution to the issues facing the district. So I appreciate you listening to all of us over the past month and a half. I'm delighted that the money I pledged may actually get to be used to benefit my community. And I'm excited by the prospect of all of us being able to work together to chart a path forward. Not just for Rockland, but for the entire county, because we do care about everybody's access. But we should be able to serve the growing parts of the city without closing our existing libraries. So again, I sincerely thank you, and I urge you to vote to keep Rockland open.
My name is Catherine Chukas. I'm a Rock Rimmon area resident for the past 12 years. Our family moved to the Peregrine area with a station wagon, toddlers, and a rowdy dog about a month before the Waldo Canyon fire. And that really made me think about what was important for a community that I wanted to raise my children. Back then, that summer, we all used to have t-shirts that said things like, "Community doesn't burn." And we know that community remains, and it grows stronger out of tragedies. And I think that's what you've seen over the past 7 weeks, our Northwest Side community coming on strong based upon this tragic decision. And we do a lot for each other, to support each other, and to explain why that small square footage in a shopping center is very important to us. As a board of trustees, you want us on your side. You want us helping you to make decisions to respect communities, no matter where they are, in Rock Rimmon, in Calhoun, in Yoder, in Ellicott, in Southeast Colorado Springs, and in the Broadmoor. You want us on your side. You see, we really know our community well, even if you don't. We know where children go after school. We know where there is commercial or mixed-use square footage available. We know how to negotiate leases with community-minded landlords. We know how to get bond and mill levy initiatives passed. And proof of that is the fact that a small citizens committee made up mainly of Rock Rimmon parents who advocated for issue 4B for Academy School District 20. This is a West Side and an East Side school district from Peregrine to the Black Forest. And this small group fundraised for a bond initiative. Mr. Salt probably doesn't talk about this with you. He doesn't talk about how it's mainly the Air Academy High School feeder strand of parents, Rock Rimmon parents, who did this work. This handful of parents know how to discuss ballot initiatives around mills and around taxes. We know how to discuss this with people of any political party. We know how to hire low-cost marketing consultants and to rally 41,000 voters to support it. It is not a $500,000 bet for a ballot initiative if there's a citizens committee. A citizens committee who can shape a ballot initiatives before they are voted on by a board of trustees. We have 8 months to do this, well before the deadlines for the November 2025 ballot. We just have to make actions and decide what they are for our county, like detabering or increasing mill levy or capital bonds, and make that a priority for the board of trustees, just like the facilities master plan document said that it should. We encourage this board of trustees to rescind the decision in item C and move forward with item D to renew the lease at Rock Rimmon. It gives us all the time and space together to figure out a strategy and a financial path to keep community libraries like Rock Rimmon, Ruth Holly, and Cheyenne Mountain open. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Cuddy. I have a cold. I apologize for my hoarseness. I am a Washington State attorney, and I've been one for 38 years. I bought a townhouse near Rock Rimmon 2.5 years ago to be closer to family. I take care of a disabled niece once a week. I've been moving here from Washington gradually, and I'll be a permanent resident in the spring. I'm gonna change my residency. I've been driving back and forth from Washington for years, actually. And this last September, I drove a 20-foot U-Haul truck pulling a trailer from 71. I didn't have any trouble finding this place tonight with Google Maps. That was a different issue. It sent me all around. I'm a pretty smart person, but you know, I wonder about our children gonna drive here if they're 6 or 7 years old for all the seniors that everybody's been talking about. But I also want to thank you. I've been a volunteer of one sort or another for my entire life. It seems that way, maybe since junior high. I'm old enough to say junior high. But thank you for your service. I know what it's like being on the board. I was a city commissioner. Anyway, I've been where you are, doing volunteer work, and I know it's not easy. But I don't want to repeat everything everybody else has said. I am concerned because a lot of my legal background in Washington was working for the state of Washington as a rules manager. I was an administrative law attorney. I officiated, I don't know how many rules hearings, other kinds of hearings. I worked for the Court of Appeals for 2 years. And what concerns me, and I'm not a Colorado attorney, but it seems to me that in most decisions of a volunteer group or city council or anybody, it's very important to share information, to talk to stakeholders, to be open about decision making. I don't know all the details, I admit that. I've got the impression from this very concerned crowd that there's been a lot of jumping from A to Z, leaving out some of the steps in the middle. I do very much appreciate that tonight it appears that you're reconsidering the decision. I hope you do reconsider the decision. Given another year that's been suggested, I think that's the right thing to do. There seems to be enough funding to keep the library open, and I do hope you reconsider tonight. Thank you.
The next three are Will Rogers, Emily McCloskey, and Natalie Reindl.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Will Rogers. I want to first really thank the board for agreeing to reconsider this vote. Of course, I'd also urge you to vote yes on the vote. But really, I'm here tonight because I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, obviously, that you're prepared to vote yes, but I'm also hopeful that the vote is on the agenda because there's a feeling on the board that this is not how you want things to be. That this is not a model for a relationship between a community and a board, that you'd like to try and restart that relationship, to try something different, to try to work together for the next year to see what might be possible to save a library. I hope that that's what you're prepared to do, because I know that that's what we are all prepared to do. So I've heard throughout the process the sentiment that a year's time, what good would it do? Or after a year, then what? Obviously, I disagree with that, but I would say that the point of the year is to try to answer that question. The point of the year is to see what's possible. Look at what's happened in a few weeks. Thanks to the latest count, we're up over 40%, slashing off the amount of money it would take to keep this library open for 1 year. That's in a couple of weeks. You've all solved problems creatively in the past as well. Imagine if we combined powers and we worked together to creatively try and come up with a solution to sustain this library. Think of all the hours we spent coming here to try to save this, raising money to try to save this. I know everybody's ready to keep that same energy to try to sustain it. So this is a really big night. This is a big night in the history of the district and the history of this board. It's a night for us to reset a relationship and to try to move together to save a library, to sustain libraries, and to build new libraries. Yep. So let's do it. This is it. It's tonight. Let's do it. Let's try something different and get after it together and imagine what will come. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emily McCluskey. Thank you for willing to listen to all of us. I'm sure that it's exhausting, but I appreciate the time that you guys have taken out of your own volunteering to do this. I'm also on 2 different boards and I understand what it was like, time commitment wise, and so I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I am an educator in D11. I am a single mom of 2 daughters and one has special needs. My 5-year-old has 11 diagnoses, 9 doctors, 6 therapists. And our second home is Children's Hospital. Literally, we're there 2 to 3 days a week for therapies, appointments, emergency visits. Our third home is Rockland Library. We live just a few minutes away. This is a really special safe place for us because of the size. 21C is beautiful, and I love coming here, but for my daughter, it's too overstimulating. She needs those lower ceilings, lower light, less crowd noise, even though the libraries are quiet, but and it's our therapy place. We spend so much time at therapies, where it's an overstimulating environment. It's loud, it's productive, but it's loud, it's distracted, and Rock Rimmon provides the complete opposite environment, for her, for those reasons. We practice her fine motor skills, her gross motor skills, her vision, her hearing, and of course her literacy. There's no other small space that we can go to that provides this for her. When we go by the library after its last day, it was really hard as a mom to hear your kids crying in the car because our safe place is gone. So I appreciate the reconsideration of your vote, and I hope that this positive energy continues. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I am Natalie Rangel. I am also a member of, I'm a 6th grader at Eagle View Middle School. I love the library so much. I read there. Everybody I know has gone there at least once and had so much fun. It's for people who can't, even people who don't like reading, people who can't read, people with disabilities, people of different races, people that of different ages. Everybody goes there, and it's a place where people can go, not just to go with friends, but to make friends. I'm a huge bookworm and a member of West Side Community, and I say that we should not shut down our library and keep a place that everyone is welcome and everyone can read and have fun. So I didn't know about that we'd get a second chance until last minute. So I don't really have a speech or anything prepared, but I know that after we passed by the library for one of the last times, my brother had a huge breakdown, and I had a huge breakdown on the inside, and I think that we should just keep the thing that makes everybody happy, keep the place where everybody feels safe. So just please keep our library. Thank you.
I need to take a break.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna just take a 10-minute break, 5-minute break.
Pausing for 10 minutes until 6:30, at which time we will resume public comment.
sounds great.
All right, everybody, we're going to resume. Please be seated. Our next three are Aaron Powers, Lisa Bigelow, and Bill Wysong.
Good evening, board members. So first of all, thank you for adding to the revote to renew the Rockman Library lease to your agenda list. So I want to talk briefly about access, which, as you know, is the first word of PPLD's vision. Access to resources and opportunities leads to thriving people and connected communities. So absolutely, libraries are all about access. Rockman Library, Booth Holly, Cheyenne Mountain are all, and all the other smaller community libraries are all about access. Removing these libraries creates food deserts or library deserts, which nobody would support. Nobody would support consolidating grocery stores. Nobody's ever talked about consolidating grocery stores. Similarly, because grocery stores are all about access, we don't want food deserts. Similarly, nobody's talking about consolidating libraries out of the community because we want access to these smaller community libraries. We need more access, more community libraries, not less. So I'm part of a large group of people, as you know, who have worked extremely hard to support keeping this library open. The number of hours we spent over the past 6 weeks as a community has been astounding. Literally thousands of hours from our community over the past 6 weeks. I think it has helped bring us to this crucial event, this do-over, as Chris called it. We are once again at a fork in the road with huge ramifications. So I want to throw this out there, kind of reiterating what others have said. We support all libraries, but we love Rockman Library. If you close our library and set us spinning on this uncontrolled course toward more drastic action to somehow keep this heart of a community, do you think we'd be able to trust you enough to support a mill levy increase? Unlikely. Instead, why not take the other fork, where Rockman Library stays open for a year and we work together? We are already a high-voting community. If we put our minds together and use the same amount of effort and support to help a mill levy increase, I am confident we can get there. So please don't throw in the towel for PPLD. Polling results a few years ago for mill levy increase were very favorable, but closing Rockman Library is giving up on the future of PPLD because you're creating a permanent rift with the community. So please don't give up. Please vote to extend the lease so we can help pass a mill levy increase. Please help the district to be financially strong and have a bright future. We can do it together. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Lisa Bigelow, and I've been a resident of the Northwest community for over 33 years, almost as long as the opening of the Rockman Library branch. Thank you very much for your reconsideration of the closure of Rockman Library. It is a vital resource for the citizens of our community. As evidenced in the last month and a half, the new data, community input, and effort to save the Rockman Library has provided you, the Board of Trustees, with information that we are hopeful will result in the reversal of your October 16th decision and allow our community to determine solutions to underlying funding issues for the entire district. The district strategic plan areas of focus include access, accountability, communications, community connections, physical and virtual spaces, and staff. We believe the extension of the Rockman lease allows the Pikes Library District to fulfill these areas of focus and meet the goals of the strategic plan. The Rockman lease renewal will allow for a transparent process and an analysis that is data-driven with standard cost metrics and community-based driven with impacts to existing groups such as the vulnerable, marginalized, elderly, and elementary and middle school students. As the population within the service area continues to grow, it is vital that library branches are located in areas that allow patrons to walk, bike, which will reduce our reliance on vehicles, help with traffic congestion, as well as other environmental impacts. It is my hope that the two largest governmental entities within the district, El Paso County and the City of Colorado Springs, as well as community groups and sponsors, can join together to resolve the funding issues for the entire district. Thank you again for your thoughtful reconsideration of the closure of Rockman Library. We all look forward to working with you.
Good evening, no one's on. Board trustees, thank you. Again, it's gonna make it another long night, but a couple of words came to mind as I have been observing. There's humor, there's humility, concerns, disbelief, there's hope, there's opportunity. Young and old. In your strategic plan, in the vision and mission statement, you talk about being strong, being connected to communities. We bring people together. Communities are what Urban Library is. It's not a big, large regional area. The idea is that you want to meet the needs and wants of the community. Continuous evaluation by sharing the findings with the public. And this is part of what we're asking you tonight. The accountability as far as gathering, evaluate, and sharing and share the public input. Under the facilities master plan, not under the strategic plan, which I find troubling. One of the first items of the main priority is maintain the overall size of the Pikes Peak Library System District and avoid dramatic growth or reductions. It's up for debate what dramatic is, but by closing one, that's 6.25%. If you close two, now you're at 13.5%. I consider that pretty dramatic. Second, ensuring that the current and future library locations align with anticipated population trends. People have mentioned a lot of growth heading east. I concur. We need libraries, we need more of them. But at the same time, there's a lot of infill within the west side, and the population has grown. Under planning of priorities, maintain size, you don't want to have a dramatically growth or shrinking of the system. I talked about that. One of the things that hasn't been talked about, how about a capital campaign? You've mentioned that you want to own the libraries instead of lease them. A capital campaign could help be a massive boost to capital to do what you just have talked about. $70,000 thereabouts from in a month and a half's time. What about Elmore? This is right up their alley. Has anyone talked to them about how do we build a library and own it? And many other corporations in Colorado Springs and El Paso County. I implore you to vote yes to retain the library and use this year to explore all of these options. Thank you.
The next three are Catherine Hall, Heather Cloninger, and Graham Swartzel.
Hi, I'm Catherine Hall, and I'm not a citizen. I'm a citizen here in Colorado Springs. Listen to the. Oh, sorry. I thought everyone could hear me. Hi, I'm Catherine Hall. I do not live in the Rock Rimmon area, but I do live in El Paso County. I believe that we are morally and ethically obligated to provide education and learning to our future children, and libraries are a huge important part of that. I also believe during a time of such political upheaval that the idea of a place that brings together all types of community is just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense for everyone. And symbolically, libraries have been a haven for freedom of choice. And so sorry, this is my first time ever speaking at one of these things. But yeah, as someone who lives in Colorado Springs and cares about the future of children and the equitable possibilities for everyone here in the city, the idea we should be able to own this library. You have so much community outreach. There's no reason not to keep it open. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Cloninger, and I used to be a member across the street at the ASD 20 school board. Up until a year ago. So I have been to many of these. I've sat in your seats. I've been berated. I've been told I was all kinds of names. So I get it. I hope that the things that you're hearing tonight are not falling on deaf ears. The fact that you're here again tonight makes me think that you are willing to play ball, so to speak, with the members of this community. I wanted to point out a couple of things that have come to my mind. I have used the Rock Ribbon Library for many years with my own children. It is near and dear to those of us. My neighbor painted the mural in the children's area. She continues to do the art for whomever wants to come. There are different pieces to each of the libraries. There's a feeling to each one, and this one is such a family feeling. The thing that I feel like has happened is that the quickness of this decision, and to my knowledge and what I, in my opinion, I believe that there were politics being played that I think are ridiculous and don't belong in our schools. They don't belong in our libraries, and they certainly don't belong in stifling the voices of the people who need to be heard. You turned off the chat in here so that you can't hear from the people that are at home. We have a superintendent across the street, Ginger Haberer, who has told her people to not come and speak out tonight. That's disgraceful, and that is not representative of the district that I left behind a year ago. Aaron Salt used to sit on this board. He went to the council meeting talking about the closure. Absolutely broke my heart. I am so tired of politics entering into places they don't need to be. I love this district. I love this district, and I will do anything for it. And I have proven myself time and time again that I will do anything for it, whether it's the east side or the west side. In your mission or in your vision, it says access to resources and opportunities leading to thriving people and connected communities. Please keep us connected and allow this to stay or reopen. Thank you.
Hello there, members of the board. I was back here, well, not here, but downtown earlier this summer, speaking on the same issue. So I'll try and make it brief for more eloquent and prepared people, but I would say based on what we've seen here just tonight, I think the turnout here rather speaks for itself. As I recall here, that past meeting on the downtown library, I would say we have easily half again as many people here now. And you saw the amount of money that the community has raised in such a short time. I think, you know, it probably feels like trying to keep these places open is a challenge that is left largely on your shoulders. And I think today we are showing that that need not be the case. There is the support, there are the resources. There have been people up here talking about ways that they would be willing to help if help is needed to keep these libraries open. And yeah, I think if you're willing to show that, well, as you've shown by just having this vote, that you want to put some effort in to try and keep these places open, that we will help you and get the money that we need to keep everything open. But, you know, if we give up at this point, after all of these people have spoken, what does that show for other libraries that might be in lower income communities? Are they going to be up on the chopping block in a few years' time? In any case, I think the community has made its voice very clear on this issue, and I hope you make the right decision tonight.
The next three are Andrew Bacon, Virginia Franklin, and Alyssa Furia.
It's maxed it out. Hello again, I'm Andrew Bacon. I'm a resident of Rock Rimmon. I got 3 kids. I've been married almost 20 years. And I got involved a couple of weeks ago, I've spoken on a couple of things, and I think what continues to go through my mind is just what is going through your minds. Genuinely, I sit here, I listen to our wonderful friends, colleagues, neighbors, and talking, but I find myself looking at all of you, just wondering, you know, what's going through your minds? What have you said in your meetings? What have you thought about? What have you talked about with your spouses? What would you say to me if I took you to coffee? What would you say about this? What would be your story, your business, your background, your service, your volunteering? I know for me, I did 15 years in nonprofit, rose up through the ranks, got extremely burnt out, and became kind of a negative person. I kind of had this attitude of that you below me. And, you know, maybe one day you'll see it as I see it. I think life tends to be really difficult, and it puts us at odds with others. Maybe if we set out to serve, and then over time we build a shield and we begin to survive. I have no idea what your conversation's been. I said at City Hall last week or 2 weeks ago, we do a family puzzle, and during the holidays we kind of have it out. It's fun to, you know, have the kids help out. And literally the whole time I'm putting this puzzle together, going, what is the deal with the Rock Rimmon Library? We've clearly debunked the financial problem. And I understand that financials are difficult. I'm a small business owner. I'm self-employed. I am totaling the taxes that I will owe Uncle Sam. It is demoralizing. It really, I mean, a lot of us understand this. Being a fiscally responsible person takes effort and time. I know that sometimes with all you've got going on, let's trust the pros or others and farm it out. It's a lot of effort. We're asking for a lot of effort from volunteers. One of the things I did want to share tonight is that I have been so blown away with all of the involvement with this group being, you know, the weeks and here, not here online. It is extremely bipartisan. I don't know the geopolitics. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know what's going on, the staff or the agendas. All I know is this group wants to keep this library open, and you've got this amazing resource to harness. I think the decision's been made, and we're just kind of waiting for it. But I want to speak to the bigger issue, that as we proceed and as you continue in your respective role on the board and your other leadership roles in the community, that you would look at what's happened, and I'm saying this group and beyond, and harness this bipartisan support. I mean, these are people not tarnished by politics. I think we've got Trump and Kamala voters and neither voters in here. And man, it's been amazing to see. I'm a Christian, and I'm among people who may or may not share that value. And I'm stoked to have a library that also has all of these different values. Now, I definitely don't want to support, you know, pornography and obscene things in schools or libraries, but I just want to encourage you that from a regular citizen, this group has been so encouraging with its nonpartisan unity and its financial and community awesomeness. And I just hope that you see this and it affects you no matter how this goes. Thank you. Please reconsider it. Let's work to do something great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Virginia Franklin. I'll be brief. I worked at PPLD for 26 years, which is half my life. I retired 2 years ago, but my heart is and always will be with the library. Thank you for revoting. I just want to encourage you to do the right thing by voting to keep Rock Rimmon open. A year's postponement to make a better plan is a smart move. It's good for the library, including staff, and for the community as a whole. Speaking of staff, obviously I don't work here anymore, but I remember what it was like to be on staff. PPLD staff is the most kind, wonderful, giving people, many of which are still my friends. Take a moment to think about what this decision does to staff morale. Finally, PPLD has been short of money since I started working there. This isn't new, and we found solutions in the past, and I have faith in each of you that you can find a better solution now. Thank you.
My name is Alyssa Furia. I stand before you today as a concerned citizen, one of the thousands of voices in our community who rely on, cherish, and defend the vital role our libraries play in our lives. Tonight, we address a pivotal moment that speaks to the shared values as a community we have. The decision to close the doors to Rockland Library without exhausting every avenue of support was a failure, not of resources, but of vision and leadership. The community has spoken clearly. The closure of Rockland Library is a mistake. We have rallied in protests, petitions, and outreach, all demonstrating our willingness to partner with the district to ensure the library's survival. The decision you face tonight is a test of your commitment to your mission. You are the stewards of an institution that exists to empower individuals and strengthen our community. It is not lost on us that difficult trade-offs must be made, but cutting access to one of our most critical public resources is not the answer. You have been entrusted with the responsibility to safeguard the intellectual and cultural fabric of our city. This is not simply a vote about a lease. It is a vote about your willingness to listen to your constituents, honor their dedication, and work collaboratively to find solutions. To those who argue that financial prudence outweighs public service, let me remind you, libraries are not expenses, they are investments. Investments in literacy, in equity, in economic opportunity, and democracy itself. Closing the Rockerman Library is a decision that reverberates far beyond your spreadsheets. It undermines the trust we have placed in you as leaders and as guardians of this institution. Trust eroded even now. Tonight, you have an opportunity to correct course. By extending the lease for another year, you not only preserve an invaluable resource for this community, but you also buy the time needed to explore sustainable long-term solutions. Solutions that honor the voices of your constituents and ensure that no part of our city is left behind. Libraries are the beating heart of our community. They are not expendable, they are essential. We are watching, and we hope that tonight you will show us that you are listening.
Our next three are Elena Dogon, Regina Top, and Ariana Myers. Elena Dogon, which I apologize, I'm probably mispronouncing that one. Regina Top and Ariana Myers. They're gonna. You're the first one here if you want to jump the lines. You need to wait for somebody? You wait for somebody? Okay. Are you two going together or are you going first? Okay. Get that in good proximity. Get close to the mic when you talk, it'll help, okay? Thank you.
My name's Ariana, and I think you should not close the library. I'm a sixth grader at Eagleview, and I wrote the speech on my dad's phone at the beginning of the meeting. I love reading, and if you won't close the library, I won't be able to check out books as easily since 21C is not in the neighborhood. Many students at my middle school use a library as a meeting place and a study space after school, and they will be closing this valuable and safe place. We probably say big libraries are safe too, but kids are more likely to get lost. In the women library, the only place you can get lost in is books. When I was in preschool, I went to reading programs and checked out many picture books to learn how to read. In elementary, I used the library to get books for Battle of the Books, a program through our school. In middle school, I just go there to find books. Please don't close our library. Over time, I've learned to love the women's library. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Hello, my name is Elena. I'm a third grader at Rock Rimmon Elementary. And I go to the Rock Rimmon Library. Me and my grandma go there. We went there almost every day in the summer. We have a lot of fun there. Please don't close the library.
My name is Regina Top, and as you can see, I'm old. But I am privileged. Unlike some parents I heard speak at past meetings, I have a car, I have internet at home, and I've already raised my children. But I love having the library nearby. Aside from books, magazines, and videos that has provided meeting places for various associations, HOA meetings, informational classes, and a homework zone for students. I don't believe we were adequately informed about the intentions of the questionnaires, or rather surveys, at the beginning of the year. I never saw one. If we had known closure was a possibility, then you would have received many more responses. Last but not least, what modern civilizations close libraries rather than do all they can to keep them open? Thank you.
This time I'm going to say 4 names because they are our final 4. It's not March Madness, I guess, but Joe Pelka, Gloria Carpenter, Sarah Bender, and Judith Darcy.
Madam President, members of this board, good evening. My name is Joe Pelka. You probably know my name by now because I've been here a lot. When you think about Rock Rimmon, you've heard a lot of good things. I'd like to bring up a couple personal items myself. I've been using that library for 28 years, and 4 generations of my family use that library. The oldest is my father-in-law. Next month he turns 99. He likes going to the library. He likes going anywhere besides doctor's offices. And he really likes coming to our library for the convenience, especially when you got that handicap parking right outside. You're in a very unique situation because, and I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to at least reconsider this issue. It's probably a good decision. But keep in mind, you have a unique situation. Only this board and golfers get to have a mulligan. And now's your chance for that mulligan. I suggest you take it very seriously. You look at this community, you notice the crowd, even though it's getting a little smaller, it's because some of the folks are older and want to go home. Some of them are not so old, but they have little kids and it is a school night and they had to go home. This community is not going away. But think about a couple of things. The argument is that by closing Rock Rimmon, you can open up libraries other places. No, I'm not the first one to not say we should have libraries in other places and to support our population. But keep in mind, the document that you base a lot of this on cost you $280,000 and it was of dubious quality. Yet you didn't want to spend $200,000 for the rent of our library. But when you look out here, we'd like to form a partnership with you. We've got some excellent people, even someone with a doctorate, that can come to you, develop studies and documents that really are useful, and more importantly, analyze that data in a useful manner, and they're going to do it for free. You don't have to hire a consultant. We can do this for you for free, so we're saving you money again. So please, please, don't treat us as adversaries. Please treat us as allies. We can work together, not only to save Rock Rimmon, but also to get libraries down the east side. And one thing I'd like you to all do is get back in the Wayback Machine, if you remember that cartoon, and think about something 20 years ago when the city wanted to close a fire station. How did that work out? It launched a couple of political careers. The fire station stayed, and the personnel that were needed elsewhere were also provided at some point. So please learn from the past. Thank you very much.
Before I start, I just want to say that I had to change my position on the list because I really wanted to talk to Mr. Salt tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and say my piece. And thank you all for reconsidering and thank you for what you do on the board. Dear Mr. Salt, I did a little reading on the ballot PPI website from when you were running for the D20 Board of Education in 2021. They asked questions to all the candidates, and I want to review some of your responses. I know this is not the Board of Education, but I thought your core principles and values would apply to the library board as well. First question, what are characteristics or principles most important to make a successful Board of Education office holder? And you responded, integrity, transparency, accountability, and accessibility. My response, and I ask, are you being totally honest with us about the finances? Show integrity. Is there something about the safety you are not telling us? It seems there is plenty of money in the sinkhole mistakes to no cost to PPLD. Why won't you take the money we raised? Show transparency. How can you live with this decision, letting down thousands of people by closing any library? Show accountability. In addition, I have not talked to anyone who has received an email, text, phone call, or a letter back from you. Show accessibility. Next question. What do you believe are the core responsibilities for someone elected to this office? You responded, anyone elected to this office has one mission, the successful education of our students. That is the sole responsibility, and everything done should be towards that end. My response? Rock Rimmon Library contributes to the successful education of students. Many students do not have computers at home to access information or books, magazines, or other materials needed to learn. Closing this library lessens the education of District 20 students, the opposite of what you should do. By closing the library, you're putting up barriers to learning. Not all learning is done in a school building. Next question. What principle drives your policies for safety in schools? Your answer. My principle is that students can't learn if they don't feel safe. It's a core foundation principle for each and every student. School safety is a large umbrella, and I've advocated for policies at our charter school that ensure safety for all students. My response, safety is an even larger umbrella and should include school libraries where kids feel safe after school. In addition, the library is a place to socialize and decompress to help mental health. Next question, who do you look up to? Your answer, I have always looked up to my grandfather. I want to be someone who stands by their word and works hard for their family and their community. We are your community. Work with us. Stand by your word from August and extend the lease one more year. What would your grandfather think about you being part of closing a library? Thank you.
I hope he listens to the recording. Oh, good. Yay.
Ready? Yep. Hey, hi. Been here a couple times. My name is Judy Darcy. I'm a resident of the Rock Rimmon neighborhood, a library patron, a registered voter, an activist, a disabled person, and a caregiver to another disabled person in the Discovery neighborhood. First, I want to say thank you for cutting off half of my speech since you guys have already agreed to revote and I don't have to tell you about Robert's rules and stuff. So that's really great. Okay. I don't like telling people about my finances, but our neighborhood has been misrepresented as only people that can afford to travel to another library. I am not among the wealthy residents of Rock Rimmon neighborhood. I do not have internet in my home. I only have a Google Voice phone number that requires internet to operate. I do have a vehicle, but gas is a big deal to me. I use the Rock Rimmon Library more than once per week for the things I cannot afford. I can't get to other libraries easily. When I come to 21C, it's too big. I go to the east, it's too big. It requires more walking than I can handle. So I've been going to Old Colorado City. That is a 42-minute round trip for me. On a Saturday, not during rush hour. But there's no bus service anywhere near me. I can't walk to a bus. The nearest bus is Woodman and the interstate, and I can't walk that far. I did not choose to become disabled or to live on a limited income. I did choose to live close to a library so that I could survive in this world that has more technical requirements that I cannot afford. It took many years to find affordable housing in this area so that I can support my disabled relative. Before that, I always lived within walking distance of a library. I chose my home carefully because a disruption to my budget can be catastrophic. When I pledged $100 to keep this library open, that is a big deal to me. It's about 1% of my annual budget. Double the percentage that your annual budget would require to renew the lease for just 1 year. Your choice to close this library goes against all the values listed on the library's About Us page. You are taking away my access. You are erecting a barrier to service for me. I no longer will have the freedom to interact with library services as I choose. You have not been accountable to me or thousands of people questioning this decision. By refusing to work with us, you have stifled creativity to resolve problems in new ways, which I hope you'll change your mind to. And you are closing our only community center. I imagine it's been decades since you had such a pool of resources. Please take advantage. Thank you.
Begin our meeting, and all, public comments and things. Board reports. Government, is there a report?
Could you use the microphone, please?
Is it not on?
You can just hold it close to you. That would be lovely. Thank you. I think it's just me. He told me from the booth.
As Jeremiah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. As Jeremiah is working on the technology, we will now have committee reports and governance will give us their report.
Okay, I guess I'll have to yell.
No.
Oh, is it working? This work?
I think so.
Is it? Okay.
Speak
So
up.
governance report, we went through some quick things and some longer things, but bylaws review, CEO evaluation process timeline, board positions and applications. So just review, move through a lot of those things. So.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Internal Affairs did not have a meeting, I don't believe.
No.
So we'll go to Public Affairs.
Public Affairs, Matt. Is this on?
Yeah.
Oh, good. We talked about our goals for next year. And we talked about this process a lot and things that we know have been concerns with the community. We talked about how we were all reading all of the emails, but we were unable to respond to all of them. So I know people were hurt by that, and I'm sorry that we just were not able to do that. We talked about that. We talked about the timeline for this whole decision, which was driven by two things. One was the lease was up at the end of this year, and the other was that we were waiting for the facilities master plan. So I also want to, while I have the floor, take a little personal time here to say that okay, I'm trying. I don't, okay.
Yeah.
So there has been some talk about how people were told that a decision would not be made until 2025. So part of that, I think that I personally was responsible for. And I want to apologize for any misconceptions or confusions or whatever that caused. At the time I made those remarks in a board meeting, which I'm sure you've all seen the video clips, that was the information that I believe, it was based on the information that I had at that time. It was based on my personal experience with how the board works. It was based on how I felt the process would go. It was not a statement that the whole board participated in or announced. So if that caused confusion and hard feelings, I want to apologize for that. I know that came up a lot, so there it is. I goofed, sorry. Anyway, the rest of it, we talked about how important it is for us to be able to explain how our finances work in the community. And so we are working on ways to do that. Our reserves look like a big number, I know that. But when you start saying, oh, well, we have to keep this for this and this for this and this for this, that number gets whittled down really quickly. And we need to do a good job of explaining to everyone how that happens and why that happens. So we did a lot of talking about how we can next year work with the community to communicate with each other and keep each other posted on what's going on and work together. And that's it.
Thank you. I believe Councilman Hendrum is here. I don't see Commissioner Geithner. Okay, but Councilman Hendrum, you can address us, please.
Thank you, President Gonzalez. And if I may, first, Laura, if I may. I need to, and I want to make a public apology to you. I treated you very, very unkindly and very poorly at the, during the council meeting when many of these people came to speak to us. And I was texting with you and I was texting with Taylor and trying to see if you know, if you all would be willing to meet with folks. And I was just completely unprofessional. It was unacceptable how I talked with you. And I need to say that to you in front of all of these people. And I hope that you will accept my apology. Where none of us are perfect. I certainly do my best to treat people with empathy and respect. And I, like anybody, make mistakes. And so I truly am very embarrassed. Because I know how much you care about the library district, about this community. I know what you've given to the community. And I know what you've given to this board. And that you have not taken this decision lightly. So I apologize.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And also I want to say, Taylor, to you. Yeah, I think in our texting, we didn't speak that night, but it was intense. And I respect you immensely, and I also want to just acknowledge, and people here may not know, but you have family in your home country in Georgia who are at risk. Violence, and there's things happening in the country that are horrendous right now, and the democracy is at risk. And that's no light thing. And for you to be here now and being in your role as a leader to listen to and be responsive is a big thing. So I just want to acknowledge that. To all of you, Aaron, Dora, Angela, Debbie, Julie. Just left me, I'm so sorry. Thank you for the work you do. Truly. This is not easy, you take it very seriously, and I appreciate it. Got to put my glasses on, okay. I have some things I want to share, but the Friends of the Rockerman Library, Save the Rockerman Library, did ask for me if I would please read aloud the letter that 5 members of City Council sent to you. So if you would, I know you all have read it, but if you wouldn't mind. I am going to read it and then I have just a few other things. To the Board of Trustees, September 2nd, 2024. The subject: request to postpone and reconsider the closure of the Rockland Library. Dear members of the Board of Trustees, as members of the Colorado Springs City Council, we are writing to urge the Pikes Peak Library District Board of Trustees to postpone and reconsider its decision to close the Rockland Library branch. The Rockland Library has served as a vital community hub for Colorado Springs, providing essential resources, educational programming, and a safe gathering space for residents of all ages. The closure of this library would have significant negative impact on the Rockland community, particularly affecting students, families, and seniors who rely on its accessible location, internet access, materials, and learning support. We are concerned that this decision was made without sufficient opportunity for public input or community engagement, which has limited residents' ability to express their needs and concerns regarding this important community resource. Public libraries are pillars of lifelong learning, inclusivity, and community support, fostering connection and development throughout Colorado Springs. Public institutions like ours have a responsibility to consider and represent the voices of the community members we serve, especially when making decisions that significantly impact them. Therefore, we formally request that the Pikes Peak Library District Board of Trustees reverse the decision for closure, or at least renew the lease for an additional year at Rockland Library Branch. We respectfully ask that a period for public input be open, allowing community members to the opportunity to voice their needs and collaborate on alternative solutions to sustain this essential facility. Additionally, we are committed to supporting efforts to explore viable options that can address operational challenges while preserving community services at Rockland. We believe that with thoughtful consideration and community collaboration, the Pikes Peak Library District can continue to meet the diverse needs of all residents. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We look forward to a positive dialogue on finding sustainable solutions for the Rockland Library Branch and to ensuring our community remains vibrant and connected. And signed by Councilmember David Weinweber, Councilmember Dave Donaldson, Councilmember Michelle Talarico, Councilmember Yolanda Avila, and myself. So I express my gratitude to you for the work you do and will continue to do. You are wrestling with very, very difficult challenges, and I think you all have taken that extremely seriously. And I do not doubt that, and I do not take that lightly. I understand that the meeting that happened last week with Randy and with Teona and a couple of the advocates to review the finances went very, very well. I heard that it was very respectful, that there was alignment on the dollars and the understanding of the money. It kind of cleared up those concerns. And that it essentially kind of helped them to understand that this is really a decision about priorities. So I bring that up because I think it's such an incredible example of what can happen when you do meet and sit down with these people who are so committed. It's just a great example of it can work really well together and be respectful. And I wanted to highlight that because I'm really hoping that there will be more and more of that. I had a meeting today with Michael Gall, who's the superintendent of District 11. And we met to talk about, in particular, the Ruth Holly Library. But it became much bigger than that. What he said to me is, you know, I have children in our elementary schools who aren't reading, who don't know how to read. And the library district has libraries with books in them, and that can help them to read, and we don't have the amount of books that the library has. And so what can we do to partner together, to work together as two separate district entities and collaborate and bring our resources together? And I think that's the kind of thing that we want and need more and more of in our community, period, in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of settings. And so I did let him know, so just a heads up, that I would be reaching out to the board leadership and to the executive leadership to request a formal meeting with Mr. Gall and with the board and the library to start looking at what can we do in beginning to prepare both to support literacy at our schools and to find potentially solutions for other libraries that may be at risk. So I guess finally, I want to say that regardless of the outcome of your vote today, my encouragement and my wish for all of you is that, one, that you will have a conversation enough that these people can hear your thinking. Someone came up here and said, I want to know what you're thinking. I really do hope that you will have the opportunity in your conversation about the rescinding for people to hear what you're thinking and to know whatever it is, because it's your perspective, it's your determination of the factors. And I really hope that we'll get a chance to hear those. And finally, the very first person who spoke today said if the vote doesn't go our way, essentially, those are the words she used, we will leave here not as allies, but as adversaries, or something to that effect. My challenge, not just to you, the board, certainly to you, the board, but actually to every single one of you that are here, that you don't leave as adversaries, that you continue to be as respectful as the vast majority of you have been. And I know that some people have more on email. It's really easy to get nasty on email. Believe me, I know I get hundreds of them at sequence. And I have been yelled at and I've been called names, and I think for the most part, you all have been absolutely amazing. But that you will continue to approach this board with respect and with the respect that you have and with the passion that you have. And you can be clear and strong and be respectful at the same time. So that's my encouragement to all of you. I do appreciate your work. I'm very keen to hear your conversation and your deliberation. And I do thank you for actually, I think it was that one of the things that the advocates asked for was just simply to reconsider. And so putting this motion, or putting this agenda item is at least responding to say, we are reconsidering. So let's hear your thoughts. And again, whatever the outcome may be, I think it is.
I don't believe there's any liaisons online.
Okay.
Aaron is with us, by the way, online.
Okay. Thank you. Any trustee comments at this point?
I do. I have one.
You have something?
Yeah. I'm gonna go up there and use the mic there.
This comes.
Good evening. I'm Scott Taylor, the trustees. First off, I want to thank Dora for adding the 2 decision items to the agenda. And wanted to say a few things before the upcoming vote. I've been on the board of trustees for 7 years now, and I've enjoyed serving the district and the communities the district supports. I've always been a supporter of libraries. I started as a volunteer at the Pioneer Library System in Norman, Oklahoma, where I then applied for a circulation clerk and ultimately moved into the IT department. So I've done this for a while, before he moved, to Texas and ultimately here. I love working in the library system, not only with the staff at each branch, but also with the communities. One thing was certain, that the communities loved their local library. And I do love the libraries and what they represent. I know that each of you had your reasons to vote the way you did back in October, to not renew the lease and thus close the library. But I am now asking that this group of volunteers reconsider renewing the lease for 12 months. Seeing how passionate the Rock Rimmon community is about keeping their library, and seeing how much money they raised in less than 2 months astounds me. I live out in the Peyton Falcon area, and I know that if our library was closing, I would do everything I could to keep it open. I want to work with the community in Rock Rimmon to keep this library open. If the future president approves, I'm willing to lead a special committee whose goal would be to work with the members of the community to develop a short-term and long-term plan for the Rock Rimmon Library. If the lease is renewed for 12 months, I'm also willing to volunteer to reopen the library, moving books, whatever else needs to be done. I know that if the lease is renewed, the very supportive Rock Rimmon community would also volunteer to help. Please, I'm asking my fellow board members to renew the lease for 12 months. I understand that funding is an issue, but we do have options to reduce the rent impact, the rent impact by using the funds graciously raised by the State Rock Rimmon Library organization and the Rock Rimmon community. In addition, we can also look at the possibility of asking the friends of the library for assistance, and even going to the foundation and asking for assistance. We've not exhausted all of our options, and closing a branch should really be an absolute last resort. Years ago, we worked on a new vision, mission, and strategic plan for the library district. It took many sessions of brainstorming and discussions. We held input sessions to hear from the community, the city council, and our community, our county commissioners, and many members of the library staff. I ask that we return to this method. And I ask that we hold true to our vision, our mission, and our values that we work so hard on creating with each other. We bring people together. One of those values. Let's hold true to our vision, which takes that access to resources and opportunities, leads to thriving people and connected communities. Please renew the lease for 1 year to give us time to carefully consider all of the options. Thank you.
Any other board trustee have any comments? Huh? You're gonna wait? Okay. Julie? No. No? Angela? Okay.
I assume we're gonna have a discussion around the decision, so I'll save a lot of my thoughts for that time period.
Then we'll move to the chief librarian and CEO report. Pamela?
Hello? Yeah, okay. Good evening, and thank you very much.
Yeah, you have to get really close.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah, sorry, my apologies, it wasn't my intent. I still cannot hear. And so, good evening, everyone, and Councilman Jim, I appreciate your kind words. Also, build on that, I would like to inform Board of Trustees that I do have a meeting scheduled with Superintendent of District 11 next week. We'll be discussing different options and partnership. Another update that I have, I will be also meeting with chief of staff from the mayor's office tomorrow. When it comes to the monument community as well, they reached out and they have a conversation, also how we can strengthen our partnership with that school district as well. We're also finalizing, our results of our salary study, and we are doing our best to make sure it's included in the budget, which budget session got rescheduled for next week, as Dora and I informed you, because we were hoping we would have final numbers from the assessor's office, as we always receive traditionally before Thanksgiving. It did not happen this year, and that's why it got delayed. Also, I want to take this opportunity and thank every leadership team member and every staff member at Pikes Peak Library District. They've been working amazingly hard, and I want to repeat again that Pikes Peak Library District can be strong because of our staff. And I would ask the Board of Trustees that what we're going to bring to you when it comes to the result from the salary study, that you would approve that, because our staff is the most valuable asset that we have. That is what I have for today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. Sorry, I couldn't go to the bathroom, but I had spoken to Taylor before. We will begin our new business, and the first decision that we're gonna have to make is a monument lease. So if everybody can look at the documents on the monument lease, we need to have a conversation on that and move forward on what we're going to do. Taylor, do you want to introduce that, please?
Yes, so as you've seen in your board package, we have different versions of the monument lease. It's a 3-year, 5-year, 7, and 10. Our recommendation will be to look at the lease extension for 3 or 5. So, and also you'll see analysis there, that was provided in the board package as well.
Comments, study for a moment, comments, or Randy, do you have something you want to share?
I was just gonna state that I was in agreement with Taylor. We've spent quite a bit of time. We've talked to the owner, and we have just spent a lot of time looking at the options that we have on here, and the 3 and 5 year, I think, is what fits our current and future plans the best.
Is there any? Is there any 3 and 5, I understand is your top recommendation. Are there other options or plans that you feel in the future? Or do you feel this will actually contain the growth and what we need out of that building?
Yeah. The question was that if 3 and 5 years would be sufficient, and it will satisfy the needs of the community, right? Okay, that was the question. No, we do believe that we need to expand our services there, but at this point, it will give us also time to explore different opportunities in that area. And also because that's what we are looking at that right now, and the space in Monument Library, it's not sufficient enough currently. And they've been actually the city of not Manitou Springs, sorry, I had a conversation also with Denise Howell this morning, so the administrator of the Manitou Springs, so I'm getting people mixed up. That's what they also would like to see, possibly expanding our services there. Angela, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Scott, Julie, Debbie, anyone have any other comments? Or any questions before we move forward?
Yeah. I know when we initially talked about this, do we have any more information on, what will happen with the other, retail or with the other businesses that are occupying that space, or are they planning to stay or?
At this point, that's our understanding is possibly not all of them, but some. So, and that's, we do not have any more detailed information regarding that. And we did also ask, we had a meeting and I did request to find out that information and look at their leases as well.
Okay. Just curious, space-wise, if there would be anything else available, if any of those spaces would be opening up.
Again, there's some possibilities. That's my understanding. I don't have any concrete answers right now. That's also that it will take some time. My understanding that there is a possibility for that as well.
Do we have any sort of first right of refusal to expand?
No, we do not. Any other questions?
Questions or comments? Anyone else? Does anybody have any inkling to go one way or another?
Madam President.
Is that Aaron?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Aaron, I had me. Please.
You're good. Teona, you mentioned that the recommendation was 3 or 5 years. Is there like rationale behind what that recommendation is? I know looking at the lease, we have 2 different kind of cost.
Yes.
With that, could you just expand a little bit more about what that looks like?
Aaron, do you mean when it comes to price tag?
Yeah, well, but the recommendation that the leadership's making at the 3 and 5 years.
So first of all, it's because we do have this clear understanding that all that community does, we do need to explore different opportunities in that community to have a bigger space. And our hope is that that will give us some opportunities to explore more possibilities. There are also some of the interest from, again, it's not official, but there's certain interest from the school district as well to work with us. There are also opportunities for that current area that we are renting, possibly will go for sale as well. So we have different options right now, or possibly we're looking at that. So if we go with 3-year lease, obviously, as you see as a price tag, it will be more expensive. If we go for 5, it's not as expensive as 3-year. But in both cases, then PPLD administration will have time to come up with a concrete plan or options and opportunities to present to the trustees to consider. Did I answer your question, Aaron?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Would there be, I know there was just a comment about this, but would there be an opportunity to try to negotiate the lease for a first right of refusal if there's an open adjacent space so that we can look into that?
I'd like to see that happen. I agree. I believe you've all heard me say this about Monument. I visited there a few times, but I know a lot of people in that area. That area is, in my opinion, vastly underserved, and that the Monument space is just not sufficient for that community. And so I would love that to know that we could work with the landlord to, have that first rate if that potential space were to become available.
So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding it clearly. So what you would like me to do, go back and have a conversation regarding your comment, and then we can come back maybe next week with some of that information. As also we do need to renew these. So am I hearing that correctly? So because then I will work on that.
I can say that I would like to see that. I would like to see that direction, and then also.
Sorry to add more work to that. I'm sorry to add more work to.
Yeah, but I think it's important.
It is.
That's what we talked about.
Okay,
And then, I know we talked about the lease break, but could you help refresh me on that?
what did you say?
Where is it? So,
I just feel like, I think it's included there. but let's see what we have.
I know we talked about it. Okay, there, perfect, thank you. Okay. I don't need that more.
I also believe that, and I think I've brought that up several times when I've had conversations to see if we can have first right of refusal, to possibly, get a little bit more space, if at all possible. And I think it would be dependent on which of the leases we could, look at if they are willing to work with us in that capacity.
Okay. So then, I will go back, and Wendy and I will be looking at the numbers and discussing that with the owner, and then we'll come back with the findings next week. If that is it, Tim?
That's
where we are?
That'll satisfy me. Scott, Julie, or Debbie, any
That works for me.
comments or thoughts?
Say what's better. Yeah. That works.
That work as well?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Scott, I don't see a head nod or anything. You're okay?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing is the, and Tamara, you're gonna have to address this as well, the records, request for records policy and procedures.
Yes, so we actually came to our attention that state made some changes to that in July. And as you see from the policy, that also is included in your packet, and we come to you this evening for you to approve that innovate as it states the changes that state already implemented. We have a motion.
No, I'm gonna have. I'm going to ask the question.
Okay, if I have an answer.
I'm assuming that the red items are gonna change. on the
Yes.
side.
Yes, that's accurate.
Scott, what did you say?
Only items that change on this document is in red.
Just the rate has changed.
Oh, yeah, yes, okay. So, do we have to make an addition on it, a decision on this? It says like we have.
Yes, we
Okay.
do have to.
Anyone else have any questions or thoughts on the core request policy?
Just like between.
If not, I will ask someone to, make a motion to accept this or not.
I move that the Pikes Peak Library District Board of Trustees approve the request for records policy and procedures, or as presented.
I second.
Any other discussion before we take a vote? Anyone have any discussion before we take a vote? Thank you, Tona, for updating us on that. I will take the vote. All those in favor of, accepting the request for records policy and procedures, update signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, we take care of that. Thank you. And, the next, decision item that we have is, rescinding the decision for the Rock Rimmon Library lease. So at this point, do we have, before we go into discussion, do we have a motion to go with this decision?
So I move that the Pikes Peak Library District Board of Trustees rescind decision 24-N-2 of the Rock Rimmon lease.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
So
Now we go into discussion.
Wait, I just want to clarify, we're rescinding the vote, so a yes vote means that.
that's what I was going to clarify.
Okay, good, thank you. I just want to make sure we're very clear.
So a yes vote means that we rescind the decision, which means that we removed the decision that we made back in October, so it didn't happen. Okay, so it does require a majority vote.
Correct.
of the board.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any discussion? Well, and then I would like to clarify as well. So a vote to rescind the decision is not necessarily a vote to reopen the Rockingham Library.
That is
But
correct.
then we would have another motion and discuss that.
May I have your attention, please? The library will close.
So yes. So if decision, if item C 24-12-3 is approved, then we would move on to item D. If item C is not approved, then item D is non-existent.
Thanks. Okay, now we are ready. Everybody has a clarified on if the decision 24-10-2 is approved, then we move to decision 24-12-4 on the renewing for a year. If it's not approved, then that is mute.
We're going to discuss that.
Yeah, we are gonna have discussion. So, anyone? Okay, go ahead.
You know, I wanna, can you hear me okay? I'm getting here, it feels low. I guess I don't voice on, I was quite really low, but I'm pretty short, I have to get this low. Hey, I just wanted to say, I have listened to you, as I know my cohorts on this board have listened, and last night, I actually, and it's not just last night, I've done this many nights. I have reviewed and looked at the tapes in the meetings from October and November. I've reread and read, emails. And most of you speak about wanting a place for your kids to stay until they can leave. You know, they leave school, they have a place to stay. I've heard a lot of you talk about you want a place for seniors to go and socialize and have activities. I've heard about yoga classes. And primarily what I hear this community truly asking for is a gathering place, or what is actually a community. Stop.
Excuse me. We need to be respectful.
Thank you. Is that you really are talking about it. I've even seen signs that say we need a community center. And, you know, back in October, I made the comment of, you know, the library is not a community center. And as a trustee of PPLD, I am representing over 700,000 people in El Paso County, the full county. And the most important thing that I have to make sure is not only to serve them, but also to make sure the library is sustainable for all. And in October, I made the comment when Representative Donaldson came up, and I said, thank you to all of you for organizing. Thank all of you for being involved. You know, there's many boards and committees, but a community center is not under the purview of the PPLD. It is directly under the purview of your Colorado Springs City Council. And we just received a letter that has 5 council names to it, asking us to do a community center, a community hub, and to wait a year. You guys have done the hard work. You have networked, you have organized, you have raised money. You could even go forward and do a nonprofit if you wanted to, and partner with the city. Work with your city councilors and find out how can you get, you now have a person who might have a building that wants to, depending on how this vote goes, that wants to actually have that community center. Work together, get your own year, do it under the correct purview of the city council. That's how people believe, and that's how you get a community center, which every single person has asked and requested for. I can't just thank you for your activism. I thank you for what you have done. But when I was on city council, the magic number was always 5. When you get to 5, you get to have really strong conversations because you have a majority. So I just ask that you guys stay involved and you look to where you can really find the leadership to get what you truly want in your neighborhood. And I just say thank you.
So
Go ahead, go ahead, Erin.
Angela, sorry, I know some of it bothers you, that some of you are bothered by where I might be sitting, but I had to do it for my hearing. Angela spoke to all of you, but I want to agree with Councilwoman Henjo that we should have a conversation now. Because I think it's really important for you all to hear where we're coming from and what our thoughts are on this process, because I heard that in emails that we chose not to respond to as individuals, because I personally, and I believe many other people on this board believe that once we made a decision, we were working as a team and we were trying to filter our answers through one source. So there wasn't any confusion. So there wasn't any of these personal, feelings, and we were trying to work with facts and present you with those. And I think that it's important for you all to hear those tonight. And we should have a conversation. And I think, I've been writing a lot of notes down, everyone, but one of the things that, that I want to say by having this conversation is this is part of that doing better that we talked about the other day, Debbie, is doing better so this community, this whole community, especially you all here, can hear what we're thinking and hear what the thoughts we're putting around this. And I guess I sort of want to start with you, Scott, since I heard your statement. And if we're going to talk about this and we're going to bring this decision back through, what would the plan be? I did hear you say something about a committee, and surprisingly, I had jotted down something very similar that I've been thinking about as to, perhaps, creating a working group with the Save Rock Women group and most importantly, I believe the city council, who offered us, who I heard over these last few months say that they would work with us on solutions, but unfortunately I haven't heard any of those. I'm at a loss for that. I was hoping when Aaron went and spoke that maybe there would be some give and take on some ideas, because I don't have any anymore at this point. I heard what this community has to say, but none of those are things that will actually, I believe, change what needs to be done. And so maybe city council would be, willing to help us on that. I don't know, but truly, I looked at what Manitou did with us when Manitou came to us with a plan and said, here's what we can do to work together. But we don't have that right now. And I don't have a clear plan for next year. What does next year look like? Because to me, next year looks like us struggling through, and then at the end of that year, we're probably in the same exact position. And all of these people are hurt again. No. Please, this is our time to have a conversation as a board, and it would be wonderful if you all could listen.
Okay, so Manitou Springs, the city owns that building. Okay, yes, we rent it, but we rented, if I'm not mistaken, we paid them for a 25 year lease. Okay.
Sure.
This building is not owned or managed by the city.
No, don't misunderstand me. It's more of that I was just presenting that we had a plan when we were starting to work with Manitou as a city. We don't have.
Again, that's different because of the process. They owned that building.
Sure.
We went to them and we said, we're having a problem with this building and we need your assistance. It took years.
Yes.
To get to the point that we are at now. So I don't think that that's similar with what we're dealing with Rock River. Now, as for a plan, yes, we should have a special committee that looks to figure out what our short-term plan is and what our long-term plan is. instead of just jumping the gun, and closing a library. I'm not sure why we still have a problem with funding at this point for a year. This room has raised a lot of money. The Friends of the Library have also stated that they are willing to donate some money. We haven't even gone to the foundation and asked them, would they be willing to assist us? That's an option. But we as board did not look at those options. We looked at the bottom line and said, we can't support this. Now, what is it gonna look like in 12 months? I don't know. That's why we need to have these conversations with this group. That's why we need to get the city involved, the county commissioners. And yes, I understand that there's a need out east. There's a need all over the place for libraries. Does that mean that we look at going to Tabor? I really hope so. We tried that a few years ago, but we were told not to because there were other issues with the number of ballot initiatives that were already out there asking for funding, tax increases. The economy wasn't that great either. So what I'm proposing is that we work with this group, figure out what those short-term solution is, figure out what a long-term solution is. If it's detabering, hey, I'm all for that. If it's looking to figure out, can we do a mill levy? That's great too. I understand it's gonna cost some money, but, and I apologize, I don't remember the lady that had mentioned this, but when we build a capital campaign, the foundation helped out with us. They helped with this library. So it's not, the library district is responsible for all of the money. That's why we have these other groups that can help out. So again, you know, that's something that I am willing to help out with. I am willing to provide updates, monthly updates at each board meeting to see where we are. And we honestly should have done this before. But we said that. I'm trying to, as Debbie is also trying to rebuild those relationships with this community. And it's not just Rockford, it's the entire district. Because at what point do we stop with just Rockford? We've got to look at all the other branches as well. Like I said, I would love to see Rockford grow. I would love to see Monument grow. We're having a problem out in the High Prairie, which is the highest traffic right now. We're running out of space. And I'd love to see that branch grow. And I'm to the point where we've got to do something instead of just talking about it. We actually have to do it. So I don't know if that answers all your questions.
Debbie, I'd just like to say that I have watched people come here meeting after meeting after meeting. And along with all the reasons why we should keep the library open, what I hear over and over again is, we want you to vote again. We want to know that you heard what we said and that you take it in, and we want you to vote again, which is what this motion is. Are we going to vote again? But having said that, the other thing that I see when I look at all of these people and all of this passion, I think, yeah, it's not just about Rockford. We have a chance to do something together that could inform how we move into the future. I mean, this is not the last library we're gonna have to figure out where we put libraries when we have the means to put them. We are gonna have to look at what do funding models look like in the future. We all know the kind of community that we live in, and historically, it is very hard to get funding for public services. Maybe that's changed, maybe it hasn't, I don't know. But what I know is that we can't do anything that we need to do by ourselves anymore, because this community is so big that unless we work together, whether that's a library district or a school district or a city council issue, or somebody needs a community center. It can't just be somebody making the decision without working with the people who are affected by that decision. And so I think, you know, we all have the same priorities. We have the same priorities that we had when the last vote happened. We want to make our buildings and our people safe. We want to pay our staff a living wage and have enough of them so that they're not burned out. We need to have access to resources all across our service area. We need to catch up with the capital maintenance issues that have put off so that we can keep serving people. We have to do all of those things, and you want those things too. So we shouldn't be, in my opinion, we shouldn't be necessarily saying we can only do one thing. I never believe that. I never believe that we can only do one thing. I'm an and person, not an or. So I believe that we can make a start on catching up with things. And I also believe that we can find a way to work with the community to not just reopen the Rock Rimmon branch, but to develop a model for working with the community on every big decision that we need to make. We have an opportunity to do something really exciting. And I continue to do it.
Julie?
All right, just gonna wait a little bit. Did everyone else go to?
Yeah, is Aaron, still on? Jeremiah, does he want to speak?
He's on, I can't speak to his willingness to speak.
Well,
Sorry.
okay. Can you send him a chat or can he hear us?
He can hear you.
I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you.
Would you like to speak, Aaron?
I understand where Scott, you and Debbie are coming from. I don't have a lot of new thoughts on this. I've kind of expended what I've thought on this before. I'll say thank you to the community for coming out again. I can tell you, I hear you. I've read the emails that you send out, just as everyone else here has said. It's hard sometimes. Just because you and I disagree on a specific action doesn't mean that you're not heard. It means that we disagree and we come to different conclusions. And so understand that I have heard you, I have listened. But frankly, I don't believe enough of the environment and the context has changed for this for my vote to be any different. That's all I'm going to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Julie?
I also want to thank everyone for coming out and speaking and being involved. I know this is, it's a big thing to make your voices heard, and that's important. And I hope, you know, regardless of how the vote goes, that, you'll continue to be involved and have a collaborative approach, with us. So, okay. You know, I understand that this is a hard decision. I also understand, the desire for community and, you know, I hope that city council will consider working with options such as, pursuing conversations about a community center, maybe giving us a corner of that space that we can use for services and meetings and things like that. And I know, you know, obviously that's up to the council whether they are willing to pursue that or not. And we've listened to the community in terms of, you know, listening to your calls, listening to your emails. I understand that this is hard for everyone to consider, you know, the options that are on the table. And I know that we've had community members who came out and asked us, you know, if the current location is not renewed the lease, if we would, continue making sure holds were available for pickup. Bookmobile, things like that. We've been responsive to that, desire to still provide books. I would say that, again, I understand that, this is a difficult decision for everyone involved. I would say that good people can disagree on how best to love libraries, on how best to serve the 740,000 plus people in PPLD's service area. I think that given the data and that we looked at originally, additional data I've heard since and looked into, additional research I've done, the data and research I've looked into and done since then has just reinforced that I think this is the right decision, that we do what's right for the whole district that PPLD serves, and have the courage to stick by our original decision.
Second busiest library. Chairman, I just have, for Robert Rules, I have a request for information. That's all.
We are,
It's just that it's a request for information for the statement.
I believe we're in discussion right now.
yeah, we're in our discussion right now.
Okay, so I can't ask her a question about her.
No.
One of the things that I'd like to talk about among the board is, the amount of money that we would spend to renew the lease for 1 year to look at other options does not allow us to open a library on the east side of town. It's not an or. It's not, we can have Rockrimmon or we can have another library somewhere else. That's not the case. So I just, somehow we seem to keep coming back to that, and I'd like to hear people's thoughts on how not giving a year to see what to do about the west side helps us on the east side, if anybody would speak to that.
I don't want to speak on that item exactly, but I may get to it. I want to say thank you to all of you. Wonderful people from the west side of town. That's where I live. I don't live in the Rockrimmon area, but I live on the west side. Your passion, your involvement has been by far, I can't even express how I feel about that. I have been with my children when they were young through boundary changes when we had boundaries. And I know how difficult all of this is. When the children said they cried when they became emotional. You know what? My son became a brat when we moved into a different school, but that was the protocol that we had to follow. We dealt with that. So I know this is difficult for all of us in here. When people say, how does that affect us? Lots of lost sleep. Reading and looking up things because we want to do the best that we can for the county, for all the people in the county, for the community of El Paso County. I do know that things have been brought up as possible solutions. I think that there are, I'll take the foundation, for instance, they are rebuilding. So I'm not sure where they are with funding. And we've got to rebuild some of our departments. And the one thing that I want to say that has not been said, we've talked about the building and its uses, but we haven't talked about our staff. Our staff is carrying the burden for so many things in this library system. And they need to be compensated. We are short 58 positions. They have, I heard from someone that they had interviewed a person for a position that was open. And they were gonna offer the position. They said they couldn't take it. We didn't pay them.
They came and they had to leave. They accepted the position and then had to leave.
Oh, exactly.
Because they could not find anywhere here to live.
And
That
they could afford. And I have a friend that wanted to apply for a position here and he said, they don't pay enough. We've got to be out there working hard to take care of the staff that we do have. There's been many different ways to look at staff. We can't allow them to take furloughs. I think I heard that at one point, or we are already closing libraries early because of staff. We move them around as we need them. I can assure you that the staff from Ruth Hawley right now is working somewhere else because the roof is being repaired and that's closed. So I know that our leadership is constantly looking at ways to say thank you to the staff. And it is critical. Without the staff, we don't even have a library system. I mean, it was suggested some solutions we don't need all the programming. We don't need all these directors. How are we gonna do anything if we don't have these people to do these things? And I know there's been the idea of volunteers. I don't know how many of you own a business, but would you let a volunteer run your business? I mean, I'm not sure, but I mean, I was a teacher and it was hard to have a substitute because I knew that things weren't going to be done the way I did them and I would have to reteach. So I know it's difficult. Our decision is not an easy decision. It has not been for me because that's one of the things that I pledged as I came onto this board. I wanted to be equitable to all of El Paso County, not to just a few. So it is a hard decision and I understand that is a community hub. But as Angela said, we probably, there is an opportunity for all of you in here that have been working so hard to work collaboratively with the city council to see if that can be opened as a community hub. We are still, excuse me. Thank you. I know we're not going to stop services there. I know that it's being explored on how to have our mobile library there and to give opportunity for books. I also know that I don't know when this will be, but in the future, it could be that we have lockers somewhere. And I want to reiterate, I said this to a reporter today. We are not closing Rock River. We just not renewing the lease. Ed has been. And the reason I'm saying that is because my understanding of what I've read and what to do was not renew this lease, but we will find a place in the future in that community. It's just that at this time, we don't have the funding to keep it open. So I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate all of you. And I have heard and listened to you, and I've read everything that I have copious notes. So.
I still think this is a discussion between the
Yes.
board, and I know that you all are addressing everyone out here a lot, but I think it's important for us here to talk about what we're thinking. And I know you said you asked a question to the board.
Yeah, we know it's.
And I think you were asking about,
What the trade-off
are
is.
we thinking this is an either or? And for me, I never thought this was an either or, that if we close Rock Run, that means, and I've read that in, in papers, which frankly, don't get me started on what I've read in the papers lately, that is absolutely
Right.
misinformation that I could just, anyway, I think it was never an either or. I never thought we've not even had that discussion, I believe, in any formal way or any shape to build anything, out east or do it, somebody said, read somewhere, somebody said a mega library out. I was like, wow, I live out east, that'd be kind of cool, but I don't think that is even I think this is, to me, a decision that is born of, frankly, the decisions that we as a board have made over the last 2 years, which were to create a balanced budget, to make sure that we are being completely, fiscally responsible, and that we are, and those goals that we delivered to Tiana, to make sure that that balanced budget comes out every year, and she works very hard with with all the staff and our finance team, who, by the way, let me just say, are fantastic, though I believe some publications had some of our former finance staff say some things that I thought were completely misinformed and unneeded. So, I trust that excuse me. I think that my trust lies in our finance department, that they have been completely transparent. And there haven't been any secret plans or anything. So this either or conversation to me is not, I don't see it as either or. I see it as, yeah.
I agree. I don't see it as either or either, and it's not that at all. I also think.
We can't hear you.
Also, just recognizing how much the staff has had to cut back and do without. And how there's been a big culture change in the library, making sure every single expense is justified, down to pencils, down to materials for children's programming, down to even where that is centralized planning now, to figure out how many pencils are at each branch, so we're not duplicating purchases for children's programming and things of that nature. We've already combined staff positions, facilities and security have been combined under one head. We had a restructuring, I believe it was last year, reducing positions at the top. We had our communications director recently had to cancel her vacation due to being short-staffed in that department. We've had frontline staff expressing stress to me about being understaffed. We know that we need to look at the salary study that's upcoming and make adjustments to make sure staff is able to sustainably live here with the cost of living. We know that in order to compete and be able to get quality employees for the district, especially if we have to look for folks who are from outside of the area applying, we have to be competitive in the marketplace in terms of the salaries that we can offer in order to get staff, because if we don't have staff, we don't have openings. And in terms of what we're asking them to do right now, we've asked them to do a lot. We've asked them to cut programming. We've asked them to do without positions. We've asked them, and the positions that are open are not even all the ones that the staff tell me that they want. Those are just the open positions that are like bare bones necessary. So I think definitely I disagree with it, some sort of either or. or, in terms of places in the city. I also, think it's multifaceted, it's not simply a budget issue, there's taking care of our staff, well, that does affect the budget, certainly. But people matter, staff matter. And, in terms of what we're asking them to do continually year in and year out with less and less, you know, libraries that have to close on lunch break because they don't have enough staff. Libraries that have limited hours, and I've heard suggestions that we continue to reduce, you know, hours across the district in order to keep more buildings open, and I don't see how reducing times that people can get there is servicing the community. And so that's, there are a lot of considerations to think about. Like I said, it's not just budget, it's not just, you know, it's not either or. But there are a lot of pieces involved in this, and again, good people can disagree about how best to love libraries, absolutely, about how best to make strategic decisions, and so appreciates cordial comments on this topic in our discussion. Thank you, Jen. You know, but yeah, I do think we have to put on with considering all those factors. I think we have to remember too, as Dawn said, the foundation is being rebuilt currently, and I have a very different recollection from Scott. I do recall having that conversation, and asking questions about could we use the foundation for funding. I know I've asked this questions before. And we don't even, as last I heard, my most recent update in the last couple weeks, as of last week, we still don't have an MOU with the foundation. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done to get in conditions. I would love to see active fundraising. You know, some of my background is in fundraising. I love getting out there and doing stuff. And I would like to get the foundation into shape to do that. And that takes time. So again, I think that if further plans come up, like the council comes forward with, here's a building, here's a plan, here's an idea, or maybe someone else in the community has a building to donate, or whatever it is, I would love to consider those options, and I'd love to work collaboratively on those things. As far as this particular lease, I don't find it sustainable under the issues we're facing, and I do think we need to get the staffing situation addressed imminently, and that is one of the highest priorities.
Put a mill on the ballot. It's been 40 years. You know, we were having our discussion and we were very respectful the whole time to listen to every single person. So we would really appreciate it if you guys could just, if you want to listen, we totally, we want that. We get you're inspired to come and do that. We really do. We really ask that you respect it. Thank you.
I'm just waiting to call for the vote.
Anyone else?
I had one more thought. What does it look like to leave the decision in place, build the committee that you had mentioned, Scott, and that I've been thinking about myself, that works collaboratively, take some of the pressure off of PPLD by leaving the decision in place, but then start to build a plan for the future with the community. And, you know, build some trust there, build some, you know, some ability to work together. What does that look like? Excuse me? This is a discussion between the board, and I'm asking my fellow board members what that might look like.
It's some understanding the question.
I think I'm just saying what the suggestion as to doing, you know, kind of meeting in the middle, leave the decision as is. But we built this working group together with the city. I mean, I think we have some, I think we would have some buy-in for that, I believe. But perhaps the county commissioners, I'm not sure that we would need them necessarily for that, but maybe. And start building that together now for the future, see what comes down the way.
That would be something the president would be able to do. I mean,
This is really just asking what my, this is really asking what my fellow board members think about that.
I think that's one.
Up to you, I mean, do you want to make a comment or? About working together?
But I want to respect your process.
Okay. If you,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the question, Aaron. I can't make a decision for my council, of course. But I do think, as I said earlier in my conversation with, Michael Gall, I think we need to do more and more of working together as entities. I would love to see the county commissioners be a part of that as well, and not just sit on the city. As you said earlier, it's 740,000 people in the county that are being served by this district. It's not just. So I think there's, in fact, I know that we have been talking with our chief of staff and with the mayor about options. So I absolutely think that we can and will do that. I do just want to say, however, in answer to your question that you just asked, I think it's sitting, the answer is sitting right here for you. I think a vote no to stay with your decision, you're gonna lose so many of these people, and the trust will be, it's just gonna be hard. You're gonna lose all the gas in the engine. And it's gonna stop. I wish and I hope that how I'm reading the vote goes the way it is, that people will find a way to continue. I certainly will continue to work with you and with my colleagues and do what we can. But I think you just, I mean, it's been said, I think you're just missing an incredible opportunity. I would just finally say, you know, it was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that you were going to go and for a no levy, and a detail would be even better. And I'm losing my words right now. The surveys that were done, the trust in the Pikes Peak Library District is over 80% of the community. One of the most respected, a number of people said one of the most respected library districts and quasi-governmental entities anywhere in this entire southern Colorado. So I just really ask you to think, lay this out, what will happen to that trust and to that energy and to that momentum and the ability to work with so many people if you don't give yourselves a little more time. So look, I think you guys have made up your mind, so I'm not gonna try to, say much more, but I just really do invite you to think about that. That being said, again, yes, I think the city is very committed to working with you. I would love to think that the county would be as well, the school districts. So yes, but I can't end that promise. And we're gonna have a new council in April, by the way, everybody. If this is an issue you care about, all 6 districts have to run again, the district representative. So yeah, there will be, a lot of change.
But I would hope that, as I've stated, you had 5 people who say you want to keep this community hub. I would hope under the city council, until your time is finished, that you do work with these people. And, I keep seeing a lot of shaking heads. If I don't do exactly what you want, you're saying no. And that's not how we ever get anything accomplished. But I do think the city council has the purview and the ability to do the community center, which I think it's exactly what you want. And then we can work in other areas. But I think working together is always a good thing, but I would love to see.
I think it's about
you guys
working
work
together. We can't rescue, we don't have the money to rescue this, but
Neither do we have the money.
I think it's about working together.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think so now, thank you, President, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ingram. Any other comment? Debbie?
One more, and I'll stop. So first of all, about the staff, of course I care about the staff, and I've made those comments, I think, at every single board member meeting I've ever been at, is what about the staff? The staff is the most important part of the library district. And I know you all appreciate the staff that you've interacted with, and we appreciate them too, and they are overworked. And they are underpaid, and we need to fix that.
Yes.
I also
want to remind the rest of the board, first of all, we have, to say that the library is not a community center is a different idea from what I have always thought of libraries as. Libraries are a place where the community gathers together and everybody is welcome. And so that's a community center to me. And I think that's what some of the comments about community centers have reflected. If I'm wrong, then fine. And I honestly, I think we need both. I think we need community centers for classes and other activities in all of our communities, and we need libraries in all of our communities.
Yeah.
And so, again, I'm an and person. And, but the other thing I wanna emphasize is we're taking 1 year to work together and see if we can find a solution. And you know what? We might not. We might come together and work really, really hard and say, you know what? We could not solve this problem. It's too big. And the only way to solve it is to go community-wide and whatever. That might happen. But I believe that if that is the result, then it will be accepted. And we will not be adversaries, because we worked on it together. And that's it. I'm done. We're all tired.
Anyone else have any discussion points you want to bring forward? If not, I'm going to call for the roll call vote. Aaron, since you're on virtually, can you give us your vote, please?
Well, we have to do yes and then no.
Yeah, the
Ayes,
yes
yes,
is,
and
yes, the no,
no.
yeah.
Or
I'm trying to think of what did I want to say?
Are we doing roll call vote in order? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just going to get Aaron and then we'll start with Scott. Sorry. Okay. Aaron, are you still on?
I'm on. I vote no.
Okay. Aaron votes no. Scott?
Yes.
Julie?
No.
Debbie?
Yes.
Angela?
No.
Myself? No. Aaron?
No, with the premise that I would like to explore this option of the.
Thank you. This ends our meeting tonight. It is adjourned. The vote no took it, so we will not rescind the decision.